Everyone was perplexed when a woman refused to comb her hair for a year. However, what they found when she eventually sat on a hairdresser's chair was alarming. "You've got a lot on your plate today, my dear." With her thick, untamed hair trailing behind her like a shadow, Maria remarked anxiously as she pushed the salon door wide. The head stylist and owner of the shop, Linda, glanced up with a rehearsed grin that momentarily froze before she composed herself. A 37-year-old lady named Maria was standing clumsily in the doorway, holding onto an A-worn scarf. She was just moved by REM. Her enormous curly black hair was matted and tangled, suggesting months of neglect rather than just weeks. The strands had a dull texture that suggested years of damage, and dirt was apparent in them. Linda's professional instincts took over as Maria walked forward. "We'll work our magic today, so don't worry." With a gesture towards a chair, Linda remarked to Maria, "You are in capable hands." Linda's skilled hands carefully navigated the layers of knots beneath the disheveled appearance as she started examining the hair. Despite its thickness, the hair felt abnormally heavy. A faint sour smell lingered, adding to the sense that this hair had gone untouched for far too long. The silence grew uncomfortable. "So when was the last time you had a trim?" Linda asked casually. Maria winced. "A year, maybe longer." Linda raised an eyebrow but kept her tone light. "A year. You've been brave. Letting it grow out like this?" Maria let out a hollow laugh. "Brave or just? I don't know." Her voice trailed off and Linda didn't press further. Instead, she focused on the task ahead, gently pulling apart the knots with her fingers before using a wide tooth comb. The first few strokes were met with resistance, and Linda had to pause repeatedly to avoid tugging too hard. As she worked, she noticed something unusual near the top of Maria's head. A slight bald spot hidden beneath the mess of curls. It wasn't just a patch of missing hair. The texture of the scalp looked odd. Linda decided not to mention it. "Not yet. Your hair is gorgeous, you know," Linda said, hoping to ease the tension. "Thick and curly like this. A lot of people would kill for it." Maria gave a weak smile. "It doesn't feel gorgeous." "That's what I'm here for," Linda replied, but in the back of her mind she couldn't stop thinking about that bald spot. As the appointment stretched on, Maria began to loosen up, though Linda could sense there were walls still firmly in place. "It's been a tough year, huh?" Linda asked softly, keeping her tone light as she continued detangling the hair. Maria hesitated, then nodded. You could say that. Linda smiled encouragingly. "Hair's funny like that. It tells a story. Sometimes it reflects what we are going through more than we realize." Maria looked down, fiddling with the hem of her shirt. "I guess mine's been telling the wrong story." Slowly, Maria began to share fragments of her life. Her marriage had ended abruptly a year ago, leaving her emotionally and financially devastated. On top of that, she'd lost her job. "Around the same time, I stopped caring about how I looked." Maria aided, her voice trembling. "I just couldn't." Linda nodded, her hands still moving methodically through the hair. "That happens more often than you think. Life can feel overwhelming, and little things like hair can feel impossible." Maria gave a faint smile, as though Linda's understanding the words offered a tiny bit of relief. As Linda continued working, she reached the area near the bald spot again. She carefully parted the hair, taking extra care not to pull too hard. She noticed the texture of the scalp felt unusual, almost rough, and the skin looked slightly irritated. Maria shifted uncomfortably when Linda's comb came close to the spot. "Does that area hurt?" Linda asked casually. Maria's face tightened a little. "It's just sensitive." Linda decided to back off for now, sensing Maria's unease. Instead, she shifted the conversation to lighter topics, sharing stories about her own struggles and how she had started her salon after going through a rough patch in her 20s. Linda couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Maria's story. Something about the way Maria avoided discussing her hair in detail made Linda suspect there was a deeper reason for the neglect. "Let's take a quick break," Linda suggested, stepping away to fetch some water. As she walked to the back of the salon, her mind raced. That bald spot wasn't just the result of stress. It looked like something else entirely. But what? Linda returned to find Maria staring at herself in the mirror, her expression unreadable. "Ready to keep going?" Linda asked cheer. Fearfully, Maria nodded, but her hands were trembling slightly. As Linda resumed her work, she decided to take a mental note of everything she observed. She made sure to move slowly and cautiously when near the bald spot, noticing how Maria would tense up whenever the comb approached that area. Trying to keep Maria comfortable, Linda kept up a steady flow of conversation. Maria was reluctant to open up further. Instead, she deflected Linda's questions, laughing nervously or changing the subject. When Linda suggested cutting the hair to make it more manageable, Maria's reaction was immediate. "No," Maria said sharply, startling both of them. She quickly softened her tone. "I mean, no thank you. I'm not ready for that." Linda paused but nodded, sensing there was a deeper attachment to Maria's hair than she'd realized. The detangling process was slow and painstaking. Linda continued her work, moving around the chair to find the best angles. Her hands, trained to notice even the slightest irregularities, kept encountering knots that felt unusually tight and almost sticky. She wondered if something other than dirt and neglect was contributing to the heaviness of Maria's hair. "Did you use any products in your hair before it got like this?" Linda asked casually, hoping to uncover some clues. Maria hesitated, her fingers tightening on her lap. "Not really, maybe some mousse or gel, but that was a long time ago." Linda nodded thoughtfully, her suspicions growing. As she worked through a particularly tough section near the crown, she noticed the comb catching on something that didn't feel like hair. She gently pulled back the strands and caught a glimpse of something metallic buried deep within the knots. Her breath caught Maria. "Can I ask you something?" Linda said cautiously, her voice steady, despite the growing tension in her chest. Maria froze but nodded. "Have you noticed anything unusual about your hair? Like something stuck in it?" Linda asked, her tone as neutral as possible. Maria's face paled and her breathing quickened. "No, I don't think so." "Why?" Linda hesitated, debating whether to press further. She then adjusted her approach, working methodically to untangle the area around the object. Her mind raced with possibilities. What could be hidden in Maria's hair, and why hadn't she noticed it herself? As the session progressed, Maria grew increasingly restless. "Maria," Linda said gently, pausing her work, "you've been so brave coming in today. I can tell this isn't easy for you." Maria's eyes welled up, but she quickly blinked the tears away. "It's just hair, right? I don't know why I'm making such a big deal out of it." Linda placed a comforting hand on Maria's shoulder. "It's not just hair. It's tied to so many parts of who we are. Our confidence, our memories, even our struggles. You're here now, and that's what matters." Maria nodded, her lips trembling as she tried to smile. Encouraged by Linda's kindness, she finally began to share more about the past year. She talked about how her divorce had left her feeling unworthy and invisible. She described the isolation she felt, spending days without seeing anyone or leaving her apartment. "At some point, I just stopped looking in the mirror." Maria admitted it was easier to pretend I didn't exist. Linda listened intently, her heart aching for Maria. She had seen clients who used their hair as a shield before, but Maria's case was different. As Maria opened up, Linda continued working carefully around the bald spot. She could now see more clearly that something metallic was tangled deep within the hair, but she still couldn't identify it. She decided it was time to confront the issue directly. Linda stepped back, setting down her comb and scissors, and looked at Maria in the mirror. "Maria, there's something I need to show you," Linda said gently. Maria stiffened, her eyes wide with fear. "What is it?" Maria asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Linda reached for a hand mirror and held it up, angling it so Maria could see the bald spot on the top of her head. "There's something tangled in your hair near this spot." Linda explained, "It's metal, and I think it's been there for a while." Maria stared at the reflection, her face pale. Her hands flew to her head, but she quickly dropped them, as though afraid to touch the area. I didn't know," Maria said, her voice shaking. "What do you think it is?" Linda kept her tone calm and reassuring. "I'm not sure yet, but if you're okay with it, I'd like to take a closer look and figure it out." Maria hesitated, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, do whatever you need to." Linda retrieved a pair of scissors and began carefully snipping away at the tangled strands around the metallic object. With each cut, more of the item came into view. Maria sat rigid in her chair, her fingers clutching the edge of her seat. She avoided looking in the mirror, her breathing shallow and uneven. "What is it?" she whispered, her voice laced with fear. "I'm almost there," Linda replied gently, her professional calm masking her growing unease. As she cleared the last few strands, the full object came into view. A rusted, tightly wound hair clip embedded into Maria's scalp. Linda's pulse quickened as she realized the shocking truth. The clip wasn't just tangled in Maria's hair. It had pressed into her skin, causing irritation and what appeared to be mild scarring. The surrounding area was red and raw evidence of the clip's long-term presence. Maria Linda began carefully, her voice steady. "It looks like an old hair clip. I think it's been stuck here for a long time." Maria's eyes widened and her face drained of color. "A hair clip." She repeated, her voice bar L audible. She reached up instinctively but stopped short of touching her head. Tears welled in her eyes as the realization hit her. I remember now," Maria said, her voice breaking. "It was the day my ex-husband left. I was so angry, so overwhelmed. I just threw my hair up and pinned it back without thinking. I must have forgotten." It was there, Linda's heart. As she listened, Maria's story painted a vivid picture of someone consumed by grief and neglect, so lost in her pain that she hadn't noticed a hair clip buried in her scalp for over a year. "It's okay," Linda said softly, placing a comforting hand on Maria's shoulder. "We'll get this out, and we'll make sure everything heals properly." Maria nodded, tears streaming down her face. She didn't resist as Linda carefully removed the clip, taking extra care to avoid causing further irritation. When the clip finally came free, it was rusted and bent, a haunting symbol of Maria's struggles. Linda immediately applied a soothing antiseptic to the area, explaining each step to reassure Maria. "The scalp is resilient," she said gently. "With the right care, it'll heal completely." Maria stared at the clip in Linda's hand, her expression a mix of horror and relief. "How could I let this happen?" she whispered, her voice cracking, with the hair clip removed. Linda turned her attention to restoring Maria's hair and confidence. She suggested cutting away the most damaged sections to give Maria a fresh start. This time, Maria didn't resist. She nodded slowly as though she were finally ready to let go of the past. "It's just hair, right?" Maria said with a weak smile. As Linda began trimming, "It'll grow back. It's more than hair," Linda replied with a smile. "But you're right, it always grows back." As Linda worked, she kept the conversation light, sharing funny stories from her time in the salon and cracking jokes to lift Maria's spirits. Slowly, the tension in Maria's shoulders eased, and she began to relax by the time Linda finished the cut. Maria looked like a different person, her hair now styled into a sleek shoulder length. Bob framed her face beautifully. The new style highlighted her features and made her look younger, more vibrant. Maria stared at her reflection in the mirror, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Is that really me?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder. "That's you," Linda said with a grin, "and you look amazing." Tears filled Maria's eyes again, but this time they were tears of joy. She turned to Linda, her voice trembling. "Thank you. I don't think I can ever thank you enough." Linda squeezed Maria's hand. "You did the hard part by coming in today. I just helped you see what was already there." Maria left the salon that day with her head held high. The weight of the past year finally lifted. Linda watched her go, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. Moments like these were why she had chosen this profession, not just to make people look good, but to help them feel whole again. As Linda cleaned up her station, she couldn't help but glance at the rusted hair clip on the counter. With a determined nod, Linda tossed the clip into the trash, ready to welcome the next client and their story. Do you think you'd notice if someone's unkempt hair hid a deeper story? Would you have reacted the same way as this hairdresser when faced with such a shocking discovery? Thanks for watching this video, and be sure to join us again for more surprising and heartfelt tales.